I'm Elizabeth Hashagen. Welcome to our live conversation on your money. So we know the central bank's rate hikes typically lead to more expensive mortgages, your auto loans, your credit card borrowing, your business lending. And we now have the minutes from the Fed's latest meeting. So nearly all of the Federal Reserve's policymakers agreed to slow the pace of the rate increases to a quarter point, with only a few supporting that larger half a point hike. And most of the officials did support that quarter point increase because they felt it would better allow them to really just like assess the economy's progress and then see if we're really getting any closer toward reducing inflation to that 2% target. So what does all of this mean? What will the Fed's next move be? And when can we expect inflation to ease? Joining us live right now to talk about that and so much more is Marty Cantor. He's a CPA and economic development consultant, a doctor of education, and a former associate professor of economics. And do remember, we want to hear from you for the next half hour. We answer your questions and air your comments, so you can submit them under the live stream of the show on our Facebook pages. So Marty, it's the sixth straight week that claims were under 200,000. The unemployment initial claims coming in at 192 for the week, so that's a drop of 3,000. But then you take a look at the continuing claims, that drops by 37,000. And it's if you take a look at the numbers, the highest unemployment rate for the country was New Jersey, and New York came in at number 10.
Yeah, well, look, there's certain realities now in this post-pandemic economy. The fact is, the last time we looked, or the data was available, said there was 11 million jobs posted unfilled. So there's plenty of work out there. The people quitting the jobs are less than they were during the Great Resignation. People are concerned about the economy. They're telling us in the surveys they don't think things are going to get better until next year. Mm-hmm. So people, if they have a good job, they're staying there. Unfortunately, the lower wage earners, they're the ones who are probably filing for unemployment because those jobs aren't the ones that employers are posting. So but it's still the reality is the economy is still hot. The unemployment is not coming down. It's going to be like 3.4%. The Fed needs it to be 4.5. We've got a long way to go, and we'll talk a little later. But the federal government's fiscal policy is really hindering and thwarting what the Federal Reserve can do. The Federal Reserve could take money out of the economy, but if the federal government keeps on printing dollars and getting more debt, it does nothing. It really exacerbates what the Fed is trying to do.
All right, let's talk about what the Fed is trying to do. We look at the meetings. There was no real, bombshell, but it was interesting that almost all of the participants did agree on, 25 basis point rate hike.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're going under and they've been cautious. And that's okay. Because the one thing you don't want to do is increase it too much, and then it goes over the edge, and we have a recession. So they'd rather ease into it, which is prudent. 25 basis points, fine. The reality for this year, based upon the numbers that we've seen, and the growth and inflation is flat. The Fed's policies are not having an impact on it. We saw last month 6.4% inflation, whereas a year ago was 6.5. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we've made a big dent from 9/1. But the reality is, we're stagnant at the moment. So the Fed is going to have to do something. Easily another 25 basis points. But I think what really needs to happen is they got to go into 50 basis points and really take a big chunk out of this inflation, because the federal government is still borrowing money hand over fist. And that puts more money out there in the economy. That puts upward pressure on interest rates. The Fed really needs to take action, because the fiscal policy of the United States is not helping the Fed.
All right, let's talk about this Cushman-Wakefield report that hybrid working will push U.S. office vacancies to above 50%, 55% above the pre-pandemic levels, to a record amount being out there in the year 2030. But we're, obviously looking at New York, we're looking at New Jersey, we're looking at Connecticut. And what happens then to all this office space, Marty?
Well, that's really interesting. As we said last week, there was a big New York City building owner which gave back the keys to the building to the bank because of the vacancy rate. Another one on Long Island in particular gave back the keys to 3 buildings to the bank. what's happening is that, and the Long Island Railroad still hasn't achieved greater than 70% ridership from pre-pandemic levels. People are now working from home. We said about a year and a half ago that there seemed to be a paradigm shift in how people work and how employers use their employees, and that employers have figured out that they can still maintain their profit by having hybrid workers. And hybrid workers like the idea that they don't have to come into the city 5 days a week. And that's causing occupancy problems for big buildings. That's going to continue. I think we found a new way to work, and the hybrid level is here to stay. And employers are saying, hey, I can save rent by not having my people come in. Let's consolidate space. We saw that Google wants to share desks now with employees. So, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you got this desk. Tuesday and Thursday, your desk mate will come in. I mean, employers and tenants are going to find a way to make money and to reduce their rent, and that only hurts big building owners.
Well, and let's talk about this idea of the 4-day work week, which we know was like, a big topic for years now at Davos. But starting last June, about 2,900 workers across 60 companies in the UK worked 80% of their usual hours for 6 months for the same pay, and in exchange, they had to promise to deliver 100% of their usual work. And apparently, Marty, it was a big success, and people reported they were able to spend more time with their children, and managers and employees described how the shorter work week ended up really changing their lives for the better. Let's listen. All right, we do have sound on that, people talking about the difference that it made all around the world. But while those people were really, really positive about it. Okay, let's listen.
All around the world, across many industries, we're finding that this model can work.
It's a step in the right direction to find a way to have a more sustainable life, and a life that's more worth living.
All right, so we're going to talk about, obviously, burnout and childcare and all those kind of issues. But Marty, you're worried about, the output side of things.
Well, yeah, that's the key. Look, 71% said they have less burnout. Of course, you're working 4 days a week and you're getting the same amount of money for 5 days a week. Who wouldn't sign up for that deal? But where is the growth of the economy? Does it mean that at the end of your 4 days, you can't do any more work to get your output out and increase productivity? What happens to that 5th day? The economy can't grow. The reality is, if output doesn't increase, working 4 days and getting the same pay as 5 days is inflationary, and we'll never get out of this mess. So the reality is that you have to have the output that matches the wages. And by taking away a day of productivity and work is really changing the paradigm. Yeah, the person who spoke before, sure, it's sustainable. Sure, it's a great idea. We'd all want it. But I don't know anybody who hasn't worked 4 days a week and find it that they can make their ends meet. This is going to be something that has to be tested. The other thing is, it can't say it's worldwide. There's only 2,900 companies, I think it was. And what kind of industries are they talking about? Are they service? Are they production? I mean, if you're running an oil rig, are you going to stop working at that's going to drive the price of oil and gas and energy up. I mean, this thing, has to be thought out more than just, a wish list.
All right. I do want to talk, when you're mentioning inflation, Walmart, warning about slower sales ahead. Home Depot, same thing. We've got, the kickoff really of the retail earnings season, and it wasn't so lovely saying, they expect inflation to really have an impact on those discretionary purchases, your electronics, things like that.
Well, we said that this is discretionary money, but today it was reported that returns from the holiday season are up 20%. So that increase of 3% retail sales that we saw at January for the month of December for the holiday season is really going to be reduced by 20% because the people are taking their stuff back, that they didn't want. Yeah, retail is a problem. That's discretionary spending. Inflation, the Fed's policy is going to take money out of people's pockets, and that's going to hurt retail.
All right, coming up next, our conversation with Marty does continue. Up now on News12.com, we have some easy ways to save on your next trip to the grocery store. Scan the QR code. It will take you right to the